Hello, greetings, and welcome everyone to the ASL Week 5 review. I am SirMoth, and I'm joined today by some guy. I think he might be an imposter, but he says he's Lord Brad, so we're accepting him anyway today.
Be clear, I've never called myself Lord Brad. Just putting it out there.
I think that's exactly what someone who was not Lord Brad would say, but anyway, let's go on with the show because we have no time to lose. This was a very eventful week. We have a lot to talk about. So, we will start off with Brad talking about match 1.
Yeah, so we had Dirty Logic and Ian facing off for week 5. I think this match was actually played early, so this was the first match of the week. And as you can see, it was the tale of sweepers, but not in the way that you would expect it to be. The game started off rather uneventful with a Titanal versus a Bronzong. Unshockingly for the Ian battle, there was no 80% damage done in the first 2 turns. It's okay. 70% came in the third turn, so it's still holding true. Um, but at turn 4, Turtonator got on the field and shell smashed. And then it white herbed away the Spadef drop. Rotom Wash Click Discharge didn't get the para, and Turtonator just shell smashed again. And it killed a full health Rotom. It killed a full health Hitmontop and dropped to an Ice Shard, to which Rhyperior came in, took an Ice Shard, and Rock Polished and got the Weakness Policy. It actually Rock Polished again, apparently not fearing Mamoswine at all, and went on to, I think it killed three in a row, and did not kill the Charizard. It used Smackdown, took 90 something ish from Charizard, and Sharpedo finished it off. So it was a very decisive battle. 4-2 may not tell the true tale of it. Dirty Logic just is a new player, as we know. He's developing, he's getting better week in, week out. This week he faced maybe some unexpected sweepers, and it very clearly got the best of him.
Yeah, I it was kind of unfortunate to see Dirty Logic did bring out Durant against that Rhyperior, clicked first impression, and Hustle did what Hustle does. Hustle giveth, Hustle taketh away. This week it tooketh away. 20% chance miss happened. I don't know that that would have really changed too much of the outcome of the match. I don't think I want to try to theorem that far ahead, but that was a little unfortunate. And seeing the Rhyperior click Smackdown on the Mega Charizard X, it looked like a really weird move to me at first because it didn't take down the Charizard. But then I looked at the roster and I saw that Dirty Logic actually has a Bronzong, and that would have been. I can definitely see the gears that were turning in Ian's head during prep. Rhyperior versus Bronzong. Bronzong clicks Gyro Ball, activates Weakness Policy, Smackdown. Now it can be hit with Earthquake. So that was actually, even though it wasn't the move for this match, I think it was certainly the move for this matchup. And in general, just a very powerful performance from Ian, proving yet again how good of a coach he is.
It was a fun match. It was enjoyable to watch as a spectator. But that being said, Nihilego never hit the field. Sharpedo was only on the field for the last turn. Tornadus Therian never hit the field. So Ian still had a lot of firepower that actually never showed up.
Yeah. Alright, well, on to match 2. This is your game versus Brett this week. And this was definitely the story of your E-tier transactions this week. Because Palisand and Wigglytuff, my bad, both put in a ton of work. Now, I don't remember what exactly happened in the first few turns. Maybe you could just clue me in on what happened those first few turns.
First few turns was a lot of King's Rock beat up Dragapult. That's what the first few turns
Okay,
were.
yeah. And so I'll get right into that set. Dragapult this week was King's Rock, Beat Up, U-Turn, Fly, and Dragon Darts. And in theory, this was a really cool set with Beat Up King's Rock. In practice, I think that it was really weird because it just wasn't doing damage to anything. It would have hit Palisand and Latios super effectively, but Dragapult's stabs did that anyway. And other than that, it's just, okay, yeah, you have a 60% flinch chance, but you're only hitting like 10% damage even if you have 6 Pokemon still alive. Do you have what on your team do you think the Fly was coming for? Maybe Tapu or Tangrowth?
I mean, the Tangrowth makes a lot of sense. Um, Scrafty potentially is my guess.
Yeah,
Um, and you know, it's not maybe the most conventional set, but in all reality, it kind of worked. Um, he destroyed my Seismitoad because of that stupid King's Rock. Um, and it cost me a couple of turns amongst me missing play rough. I think what twice or three times that match. Um, so with a little bit of bad luck and him getting I think maybe three flinches off just from packing that King's Rock. Um, it's an unconventional set, but to be honest with you, I thought it worked.
that that may be the case. I don't know. I do think that it put in work, but I don't think that it put in Dragapult levels of work, if you get what I'm saying. Because I think that while it did a lot of work, it could have put in so much more with how just crazy a Dragapult could be. I mean, I can't pinpoint the exact set that would have been better, but either way, I it was certainly an interesting bring, and I can see the worlds in which Beat Up hit like 2 or 3 flinches in a row and just decimated some Pokemon that normally Dragapult couldn't have beat. And other than that, uh, I think that yeah, Wigglytuff was just switching in on absolutely everything and wishing things up. This is the first week that you've really had your Mega Charizard Y shine. It deals a ton of damage in Sun, and this is one of the first times that it's actually been able to click Flamethrower a couple times. Dealt a lot of damage to that Dragapult, a lot of damage. I guess Infernape switched out, and it killed the Aromatisse. Flame Charge to make sure you weren't outsped, so that was a really good set for you this week. And then Palisand also managed to take a lot of hits, and it got 1 KO, and it pressured out a couple Pokemon too. So I don't think we saw the Latios hit the field for your side, but overall, I think your team was very cohesive this week, and a lot of what Brett brought was very interesting and very good, but it was just really hard for him to outpace the offensive and defensive pressure you brought.
You know, when I picked up Wigglytuff, it was really to be able to get Tapu Koko. I needed the A tier slot, and Clefable was taking the A tier slot. So I was looking for an ability to recoup that wish. So this is actually how I decided to pick up Wigglytuff. So I went into Pokemon Showdown and I typed in wish and I typed in teleport just to see is there a way I can get those two things back. And I'll be darned, I found Wigglytuff. So I was like, you know what? I got a discount Clefable. Obviously, it's quite a discount, and they don't really do the same things. But I was like, hey, I get Wish Teleport back, so let's give it a roll. And the reason that I thought his Dragapult set worked really well this week is because almost any other Dragapult set was pretty useless against Wigglytuff. His only way to hit it super effective, I had a berry for and could rock him with Dazzling Gleam. Um, Felt actually super, as weird as it sounds, going into this week, I was super confident in Wigglytuff. Words probably never spoken before. Um, but I felt it had a really baller matchup, and I thought it was actually going to do a lot of work. And I'll be darned if it wasn't incredible. The rest of the game really isn't that significant. I was so pumped to see a Wigglytuff putting in the kind of work that it did.
Yeah, I found that really funny because the when we were going over the transactions, you said specifically, I'm going to bring Wigglytuff and it is going to put in work one of these weeks. And this was exactly that week. You proved your words with action.
No, and I also will mention, just in the spirit of E tier, I think Palosan did what, 50% to Ferrothorn?
Yep.
40%, 50%, a lot more than it was supposed to. Um, I was really excited about my E tier this week, being able to do quite a bit. And Brett played it well. Don't want to discount him. Brett played it really well. He brought some good sets. All the things you said is true. Um, about the second or the third play rough miss, I was starting to get nervous. I was like, oh no, this happened to me already. I got parried 4 times out of 8 turns with my Charwa week 1. I was like, it's coming back. But no, it was a great match. I love playing against Brett. He's a good friend of mine, has been for a long time. So I was happy to have that one.
Yeah.
Match 3 is you and Melone.
Yep.
Yeah. Not having a great season so far. To Melone outside of this video, certainly, and I just encourage him, man, just focus on the one. Go get the one. Go get that one win, buddy. Don't worry about anything else. Just go get that one. And he has a really nice team. I think he's got the pieces now to be able to do it. I like the Zapdos, the Gallade, even the Dracovish. I think he's going to get there. But this week wasn't it, man. This was, and actually what's funny is because turn 1, I was like, oh, Malone's going to do something here, because he low kicked your Cobalion and you volt switched, and I was like, like Malone's ready for this, you know what I mean? Because you could have obviously iron headed or close combated, and it would have been. I was like, okay, this is gonna go good. And then he discharged your Orlando T on turn 3, I think it was, and it was literally downhill every single turn from that moment. Once he discharged your Orlando T turn 3, like, I don't think there was a single moment where he had momentum again the rest of the game. And I mean, it was just an absolute beating. I hate that, because Malone's one of my favorite people in the league. He's certainly one of my favorite coaches. I think for everyone, he's probably, I think they would say, one of their favorite people in the league. Great guy. He's going to get it turned around at some point, but it wasn't this week.
Yeah, in prep, I was actually really terrified of the Shaman because Seed Flare demolished my Mega Slowbro, and between Seed Flare and Earth Power, a bulky set wouldn't even have to be that specially invested. Could pretty much 2-hit KO everything on my roster outside of Mandibuzz without even getting the Spadef drop. So I was really terrified of this match for that reason. And that's something that I think, had that come, the game would have been a lot different. But yeah, what I have to say to Melone is very similar to what you were saying. Is absolutely don't give up. If you give up now, then you are pretty much guaranteeing that things won't go well. But if you hang in, I can guarantee you that you're still going to get multiple opportunities to catch those W's and to have a fun season throughout the rest of this. So, and I'm sure that you will keep trying your best, because you've been with this league for a really long time, and I can tell you have fun with it, and we all certainly have fun having you here. And I do think that you're a pretty good player. You actually made one of the doubles to your Zapdos on my Mega Slowbro play. That was a really good play, and staying in with that Sneasel, like Brett said, or Brad, wow. Like Brad said, I could have easily clicked Iron Head, I could have easily clicked Close Combat, but you had the gall to just stay in there and call me out on that Volt Switch. So you certainly make a lot of plays, and I think that you can have a great season moving forward.
I would just say functionally, as far as technical advice goes, Mega Gallade is probably the best Mega in the format at this point in time. It's just unbelievably powerful. It's bulky enough to take 1 to 2 hits, and depending on how you build it, I mean, it can completely control a game. Um, but functionally, when its first appearance on the field is turn 26, you put yourself in a position to where things might be set up to be able to beat it. Like Deontay with the play rough, it was able to set up and then to immediately knock out the Gallade. Getting it in, you know, I know it's not easy necessarily to get something like Gallade in. You want to protect it so it can get in and take as many hits as possible. Uh, but that's the kind of mon that you don't want waiting to necessarily to the back end. You want to get Gallade in mid game, even early game if you can, but probably mid game is the best, and start getting off big chunks. You need big chunks. Gallade isn't necessarily, it can Swords Dance and then hit some things and Shadow Sneak some other things and win, but I think with this team and this roster, you probably want to get Gallade in maybe 3, maybe 4 times a match and let it click a big move. Because things drop when Gallade clicks moves. And I know I said that last week. I was like, I know it's crazy, but when elite mons click moves, good things happen. But Gallade's one of those things where if it clicks 3, 4 moves, stuff starts dying really quickly.
Yeah, particularly in this match, if Mega Gallade had been the lead, because this team doesn't look like it has a dedicated lead. Maybe the Rabombi, but since Sneasel came out, I assume there wasn't a dedicated lead. In which case, if the matchup had been, like, my leads are either going to be Cobalion, Diancie, or Landorus Therian from the looks of my roster, usually. Mega Gallade demolishes Landorus Therian because it's immune to Intimidate and can pack that Ice Punch and doesn't go down to anything in one hit unless I'm like a weird Choice Band Adamant set. And it definitely beats Cobalion every time. And Diancie is the only matchup that it wouldn't have worked against. So I think even a Mega Gallade lead would have put in a ton of work. I think, like you said, if it had showed up a couple more times in this match, I would have had a much harder time if that had happened before my Diancie had already set up.
Yeah, I mean, he got Dracovic in there. It was able to do a couple of things. But just Gallade is, in my estimation, the premier attacker in the current meta. I think if you were going to make a list of I want the best attackers, Gallade's probably number 1. Probably not, maybe 3, probably the single best. So if you're going to get something in to get off some big hits, that's probably the one you want to find a way to get it in there.
Yeah, definitely. Alright, so match number 4. This one was ILKid versus TCP, and this match, I'll be honest, it was pretty unfortunate. Early on, it was a Tornadus Incarnate. It had clicked Nasty Plot. It was facing down a Moltres. Hurricane would have killed the Moltres, but it missed. And so Tornadus Incarnate went down. Okay. Swampert comes out, and that would have probably picked up the kill. And then Moltres manages to hit a Hurricane, get a critical hit on the Hurricane, get a Confusion, and have the Swampert hit itself in Confusion. And I ran the numbers on that. That has a 0.4% chance of happening. Less than 0.5% chance that goes that poorly. And later on, there was Appleton was against a Manaphy, and TCP brought a really cool Manaphy set. So the Poltegeist had gotten up a Shell Smash, and Manaphy came in. It barely took a Giga Drain, and then it used Heart Swap to take all of Poltegeist's stat changes. And then Appleton came in and would have been able to deal with it. It had the Yacht Berry. Everything was going great, and then Appleton got froze. So, pretty much, ILKid lost 3 Pokemon completely due to hacks, And from there, it was really a rough battle. And the fact that IL Kid managed to get it back to a 0-1 is absolutely amazing. The Pulte guys put in a lot of work, and I think that a lot of great sets came. IL Kid had the stuff to deal with Klefki. It's just the server happened to say no this time.
I always try to refrain from theory modding. I think it's a bad practice. I don't think good things come from theory modding. So, who knows who would have won if the hacks hadn't entered the game, because ILKid would have made different choices and TCP would have made different choices. So, absolutely refuse to theorem on this. But what I will say is, what do we call focus blast? What do most players call focus blast? They call it focus miss. You know why? Because it misses the majority of the time. Hurricane is just flying type focus miss. IL Kid can't be upset because Hurricane missed.
I agree
but he
with
can
that.
be upset that he got a confusion on the Swampert and then hit himself. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, on a
It's
crit,
okay
no
that
less.
Hurricane missed, because Hurricanes miss. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And even if Moltres had just crit, that's fine.
Yeah.
Crits happen. But then to get confusion and then to hit yourself, that's about as rough of a 2-turn sequence as you're going to find. But even beyond all that, I actually thought the most impactful turn was probably the Appleton getting frozen.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought ILKid still was in a pretty good chance to make things work for him until the Appleton got froze. I really wasn't that worried about the Swampert loss, although Swampert was a big deal for the Lopunny. But once Appleton got frozen, I was like, oh, we're in a real bad spot now. So who knows what would have happened? Like I said, I hate theory mining because if ILKid had different things alive, then TCP would have, preserved things differently, and who knows what would have happened. But geez, I said it week one, if you recall. I said sometimes as a coach, your job is to beat your opponent, and sometimes your job is to beat your opponent and the server. And some weeks it just don't work out. Week one, I wasn't good enough to beat my opponent and to beat my server. Week 5, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's really much more that has to be said because, I mean, even if theory modding was a good idea in general, which I'm kind of on the same stance as you, unless it's like a couple turns difference, I don't really want to do that. But it happened so early, we have no idea what would have happened, could have happened, but what did happen was unfortunate, and that is what it is. The server saw Klefki, saw a team that could beat Klefki, said no. Klefki got one more kill and no more deaths. It's 14-0. Still that terror. We'll see what happens week 6 for both of these players.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. But I will at least say credit to IL Kid for bringing something that can stab super effective hit Klefki. May not have worked out, but by God, he at least did it. So congrats to you, my friend. Congrats to you for that.
And that even almost worked out because Cinderace, IL Kid did a great job of preserving it. IL Kid knew that Klefki was going to be a problem in the late game and did preserve the Cinderace through all of it until the very end. So there was definitely a game plan there.
It just is what it is, man.
Mm-hmm.
On to match 5. We've got Lele versus Dravos. Now, I got to be honest with you. Coming into the week, this is one of the matches I was really looking forward to because I know that there's some friendship going on here. I know these guys, I think either Lele brought Dravos in and Dravos brought Lele in. Somehow or another this happened. But I know that they're tied together in some form or fashion. I think Dravos actually told me, and I think I sent a screenshot to you. This was the first time that he ever beat Lele. Is that what? Go back to that screenshot.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's good that you remembered that because we were told specifically to remember that, and I didn't.
I didn't either until just right at the last minute. He said, fun fact, this is the 6th time I've battled Lele. I've yet to win, so we'll see. Might be fun to add to the weekly recap. So at that point in time, he hadn't fought him. And He did indeed fight him, and he won quite handily. Um, I tell you what, really surprised me about this match. Like I said, I was really looking forward to this because I love friend versus friend battles. There's usually a little bit of extra on the line. And Lille didn't. He's shown himself to be a really strong competitive battler every week this season. Um, but Dravis really, really established early control and momentum in the game and never really let go of it. This was, I mean, a one-sided beating for the most part. There was a sleep powder miss from Venomoth that I thought could have mattered, but again, it's sleep powder. You're not talking about. It is what it is. We know that high percentage moves turn into low percentage moves when you're playing these kind of games.
Mm-hmm.
Even the bulk up on Braylon, bulks up in front of the Aggron. He takes 57. His health lower, and then he bulk ups again in front of the Aggron, and he dies. I was very perplexed by that sequence of events. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure exactly what he was hoping would happen there. It just seemed like Lille's choices maybe weren't as sharp this week as they have been, because he's been very, very impressive so far. And Dravos's choices were extremely sharp this week. So I think, I mean, that kind of led to obviously a 6-0 is an extremely dominant result. But looking behind the curtain, Lille maybe wasn't as good this week as he has been, and Dravos was phenomenal this week.
Yeah, I think that this was definitely Dravos's team working at peak performance. This is exactly what the team wants to be doing every week. It's got those glass cannons in Toxtricity and Weavile and Gengar, and then it has those really bulky support Pokemon like Mega Aggron and Sylveon and Alomomola, and they just did exactly what they were supposed to do. Sylveon kept Alomomola kept everything healthy. Mega Aggron took a bunch of hits. Toxtricity got a late game sweep. Weavile and Gengar never even had to hit the field. It really was. It wasn't even. Well, I guess I'll just retract what I was going to say, but it was definitely a great performance for Dravos. Great performance for Dravos' team, and yeah, I agree with everything that you said.
And I will say, though, just again, Dravos had that freeze on that Alomomola and working through it, man, using that regenerator ability to make sure it had health so it could still deal with Inteleon and finding a way to, work through that freeze to get to where your Alamo is healthy again, man. That's the kind of stuff that you've got to do in some of these matches, particularly when you're playing high level matches against really good people. And Lille is a really good coach, and Dravos stuck with it, man. He showed a lot of tenacity, a lot of heart, and he made it happen, man. Good for him this week. It was a big win.
Yeah, exactly. So, on to next match. We have match number 6, which was Peaches versus Nemo. And this really was the game of Mega Diancie. So, Mega Diancie didn't come in at first. It started off, I believe, let's see, first few turns, the Hoopa actually put in a lot of work. It got a ton of damage off on the Sandaconda, and then it predicted Stoutland coming in and actually clicked Focus Blast and demolished the Stoutland. It never had a chance. And then, after that, Toxicroak came in, took down Hoopa, and there were some maybe sketchy plays. It didn't look like maybe Nemo had prepped for Toxicroak too well or something. I don't know what exactly was happening, but Zeraora came in. It wasn't able to take down the Toxicroak with a couple Thunderbolts, and Toxicroak just managed to Drain Punch up a few times, get a Sucker Punch, get rid of Zeraora. And from there, Mega Diancie just managed to come in, and between Sub, Diamond Storm, and Moonblast, didn't even need any setup moves or anything. 4 Pokemon completely healthy on Nemo's team, and Mega Diancie just worked its way through every single one of them. Sand boosted the special defense, Diamond Storm boosted the physical defense, and it just tanked through things. Substitute got through things and dealt damage every turn from then on out.
This is what we've been calling for. We've been asking Mega Diancie to be a Mega Diancie. It was 1-1 coming into this week. And here we go. It finally happened. I'm with you. I do kind of with your remarks regarding the Zeraora. Just a very confusing sequence. It looked to me, I would say similarly to what you were saying, that it just didn't seem like Nemo really had a Toxicroak swap in. And maybe he had a plan and we just didn't see it, or it didn't work out the way he had expected it to. It looked like he had absolutely no answer to Toxicroak, and he lost a really valuable mon in the process. But man, Diancie came in. I mean, you got to think about this. This was a 5-0 match, but this was like 18 turns, I think it was. Was it 18 turns? It was 18 or 19 turns.
Something like that.
18
it was
turns.
Pretty fast.
I mean, this was very quick beating. And I know there was a couple of one-sided matches this week. But golly, I think this is far worse than what Dravos did to Lille. Even though that was a 6-0, that was a fairly competitive battle, and there were turns that could have went Lille's way. And that battle could have tipped to the other side at some point. This was a very decisive match with Diancie getting in before turn 10 and the battle ending well before turn 20.
Yeah. Something I did think about that maybe is what was happening with the Zeraora. Thinking about it, probably the Toxicroak was a lot more specially defensive than Nemo was expecting. So that might have played into it a bit. But yeah,
definitely could have. Even that being said, Drain Punch does 40%. He still stayed in and clicked Thunderbolt again, and then he stayed in presumably to click Thunderbolt a third time and died to a Sucker Punch. So, yeah, he definitely maybe got surprised by it, but certainly didn't change tactics either.
Yeah, that's fair, because maybe Volcarona could have come in with that Flame Body and it would have taken a Drain Punch super easy. Dry Skin Toxicroak doesn't want to stay in on that. I don't know what would have happened, but either way, disregarding those couple turns, Mega Diancie really shone, and even if those turns had gone differently, I think that Mega Diancie still had a really good chance to shine.
Which I will say, in fact, background noise for you. I picked up Wigglytuff. Peach DM'd me and said, yes, a Wigglytuff. I need to see it work. Last week in this video, I told Peach, I said, Peach, I need to see Mega Diancie step up. I guess we both got what we've been asking for.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
I'm so excited to go into this featured match. I don't want to hold you back from whatever you were about to say, but I got to tell you, this featured match was bonkers.
Oh yeah, super good. I was just going to give a little tidbit. You might see that Nemo's team name is a little different. I didn't edit that properly, but hey, surprise, something's happening in the future. We'll move on to the featured match.
We'll know in a few minutes. I was so excited for this match coming into it. Shadow had the momentum of the win last week. Static's been playing. I'm thinking of the words to say, but I want to say Static's maybe been playing as good as he has since his playoff run in season 5 or 6. I can't remember. But Static's been playing phenomenally. Shadow coming off of the big win. And at team preview, you know what I'm looking at? I'm looking at a bunch of offense, a bunch of fun, cool things. I got an Aegislash. I got a Grimmsnarl, which has the potential there. I got the Araquanid. I got a Hydreigon. I got a Kartana. I'm hyped. I'm looking forward to this match, and it did not disappoint. Two of the longest standing ASL coaches absolutely tried to kill each other. It was fabulous. It was a long battle. The Aurorus, right off the bat, with the freeze dry, hitting the melodic hard, started off quick. This was like an Ian battle. We're trading like 50s percents in the first couple of turns. And I tell you what, I didn't know Mr. Ryan was A tier, but we mistiered it quite clearly. We got it wrong. I take responsibility as one of the commissioners for this league and a founder. We got it wrong. Mr. Ryan is quite clearly A tier. It's the best mod in the league, obviously. Who would have thought that Screen Cleaner would have been like a premier ability? I mean, it's a cool ability. When I heard about it, I was like, oh, that's neat. Would it clear off like 5 different times it cleared off screens? How many times did it clear screens?
Oh, I
I
don't know.
I have absolutely no clue. I know that Cress brought screens, probably thinking who in their right mind would run Screen Cleaner, Mr. Rhyme. And oh my God, it came in left and right. And it was doing like legit damage. And it was dry baton passing, which we allow. We do allow dry baton pass. It was dry baton passing out, coming back in later, removing the screen, getting off big. It was ridiculous, dude. I was stunned at Mr. Rhyme. What did you have? And then it healing wished a
Yeah.
melodic that was a 5%.
Yeah, that was the big one for me. Like, it did so much all game, and then when it finally looks like, okay, maybe Mr. Rhyme has done its work, nope, Healing Wish, that Milotic is completely back. And between the Mr. Rhyme and Milotic, those, I mean, every single Pokemon on Shadow's team did a lot of work. But
Did.
Mr. Rhyme and Milotic, that dynamic duo was just insane this week.
We would be remiss not to mention the fact that, okay, setting this up for you, I know that the replay is playing while we're talking about it. You got a Hydreigon versus a Grimmsnarl. It flash cannons on the bulk up, right?
Yep.
It flash cannons a second time, I believe, on the Drain Punch that breaks a substitute. And just so happens that Shadow is Choppleberry to live the Drain Punch to be able to threaten with another Flash Cannon to potentially kill the Grimmsnarl. I think he swapped out. But it's just like everything in this match was unbelievable. Like every turn in this match was just ridiculously high level. It was a big game. These you could have, if you would have taken the names off and you took Shadow off, you'd have took Static off, and you would have put who's our 2 highest ranked teams? I think it's Peach and TCP. I would have believed you because this game was ridiculously competitive and very good, well played. There was not misplays. There was not a bunch of idiotic turns where things went weird. This was a high level game.
Yeah, and Static brought the stuff to deal with Milotic in particular. The Rotom Mo was amazing against it. Auroras with Freeze Dry. There was a lot of stuff to deal with it. And then the Aegislash even had Metal Sound. Is that what it? Yeah. So that theoretically, if the Aegislash was healthy, it could Metal Sound and take down the Milotic 1v1. So the stuff was there, and Milotic even got down. I think that if Milotic had gone down, Static probably had a really good chance of getting it. And then Mr. Rhyme healing wishes, of course. But even still, like, these last few turns we're on right now, turn 37, Kartana against the Rotom-Mow, and Kartana has Giga Impact for some reason. Probably the only move in its arsenal that was killing the Rotom-Mow at that point. And then without Rotom-Mow, there was nothing to deal with the full health Milotic. It was just such an insane back and forth game that you can't even commentate on every single cool thing that happened because there were too many of them.
It was a fabulous match. It was really exciting. Grimmsnarl, the Static's play of the Grimmsnarl is getting me excited for Grimmsnarls. I was not excited for Grimmsnarls coming into this season. The way Static has been playing it is getting me like, you know what, dude? I need to check me out a Grimmsnarl pretty soon because this thing continues to show up to matches and continues to matter in matches. It may have been 0-1, but Grimmsnarl was a problem in that match.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to get me a Grimmsnarl soon. And when you use Mons, make me feel like, man, I need to try that. You're doing something that's catching my eye, and I'm really impressed with these two. And man, that was a heck of a battle. If we were, now, you can see through the slideshow that we did not pick featured set of the week. The only reason we didn't is because the length of this video is already going to be insane because we have more stuff to cover, believe it or not. But it would have been Mr. Rhyme, unquestionably.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even mid-match, I was like, okay, well, we see that Mr. Rhyme screen cleaning. We have the set of the week, and little did I know that the entire match was going to be that high level, but
It was absolutely bonkers. Shout out again, Galarian Wheezing. I don't know when that thing became a special threat, but it's gotten multiple kills on different games this season, completely changing the way I look at a Galarian Wheezing. Static played phenomenally. This was a crazy match.
yeah, and I will note on the Grimmsnarl, I think why it seems really impressive is because for some reason, pretty much all I ever see anyone click on Grimmsnarl is dual screens. I don't know why, but that's like the go-to set, and any other set that comes is usually considered the really out there set for the player. But Static has actually been using screens with Cresselia pretty often, which frees up Grimmsnarl for all of the other cool, like, bulk up 3 attacks this week, and it can do so many other sets. With Prankster, it has so many things that it can do. It's been thunder waving, so really it's kind of like Mew, when you have other Pokemon that can fill the support roles that Mew does, Mew can become a premier threat. And Grimmsnarl has been doing that exact same thing. And also, I think that the Mr. Rhyme screen cleaner was a great bring, not necessarily because Cresselia went screens, but when you see a Grimmsnarl on the opposing team, you automatically assume they're going to be screens, I would assume. And so that's probably what was going through Shadow's mind, and the fact that even though Grimmsnarl still didn't go screens, it put in that much work is really fun.
Odds are, for the next, I'm going to say 3 to 4 years of my competitive Pokemon life, if I choose to run screens, I'm going to check and see if they have a Mr. Rhyme.
Yeah. Yeah, if they have Mr. Rhyme, that's one of those things that you tick off. It's kind of like if they have Gliscor, you probably aren't going to want to bring Toxic on everything. If they have a Mr. Rhyme, just discount those screens. They aren't coming. Don't worry about them.
It was ridiculous. What a match.
All right, so moving on, we have a decent number of transactions this week. And first up is the Switch. Static dropped the Hydreigon and added Salamence. So I'm going to let you talk about this one because I know you said earlier that you really like Salamence. So
I do really like Salamence. Salamence is just so good at literally everything. Obviously, it can't take Ice type hits. Fair enough. But other than that, geez, it dances. It's got Intimidate, Roost. It can be really bulky. It can be special. It can drop Dracos. It can be. What do you need? You need Defogger. It's got you a Defogger. Do you need Fire type moves? It'll help. What do you need? Here's your Salamence. Go fix your problem. Really nice. And then they gave it boots, right? So it potentially got a little bit better. Although Mints really did like running like Z-Fly.
Oh.
Its bulky capabilities, and I personally love running. I can't tell you the amount of times I've ran like an Intimidate, Rocky Helmet, Dragon Dance, Salamence. I've done it a ton of times. Great mon, a lot of potential, and it does a lot more than what Haxorus can do. Haxorus is powerful. Haxorus is a problem, but Haxorus and Emboar are actually quite similar.
Mm-hmm.
They are quite similar in functionality. Now, Haxorus, of course, can click the Dragon Dance, and obviously it deserves the higher price tag that it comes with. But Haxorus and Emboar functionally are not all that different, whereas Haxorus and Salamence are, oceans of difference in what they can do as far as functional performance for a unit.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is... You cut out for just a second after you said that it really liked Z-Fly, so I don't know if this is what you were saying, but also in the DLC, it did get that, I believe, Air Slash, but I know it got Hurricane in that data mine, so it now has those special flying type moves to really put work in. And yeah, just Intimidate, Bulk, and Moxie sweeps, and I think that Salamence is going to do everything that Haxorus ever could have done, and it's going to do so much more, and it's going to do it all so much better.
It really will. It just a great mon, a premier mon, and it adds just so many things to Static's team that he didn't have before. It's a great Scarfer. He really didn't have a great Scarfer. I guess Ronamo's pretty good, but it adds him a great Scarfer. It gives him just bulk options that he was losing with the next transaction. It replaces some of that bulk. It's a wish passer. I mean, what do you need? Here's your Salamence.
Yeah, and I will note that I actually switched around the transactions a little, so this is actually a transaction that moves up a tier. Haxorus was C tier, Salamence is B tier, so obviously the Salamence is probably going to be more valuable. But moving on to the next transaction, we have a B tier to a C tier, and Cresselia for Yuxi. I also think that this is a really good trade, because Cresselia, it can be a beast. It is so bulky. It can be so difficult to take down. But if it isn't just surviving through everything, it can definitely do some work. But it also has a lot of potential on some teams and in some matchups to just completely sink your momentum. And I think that that's something Static has been maybe struggling with, is Cresselia has come in a lot, and it's done some stuff, but we've never seen like an overpowering performance for it. It's been mostly bulky utility. Well, Yuxi is here. It's a tier down, so allowing for that amazing Salamence trade up, but Yuxi comes with a lot of the same utility. It can, I believe, also Thunder Wave. It has the Stealth Rocks. It's got U-turn, so it's an amazing lead. I believe this is the bulkier one in the trio. I don't have the, yeah, so it's the bulkier one, so it still fulfills some similar roles, but it also just has a couple extra roles that are filled, and it's not going to sink the momentum like Cresselia potentially can. So I think that this was maybe on paper, this trade wouldn't look great to everyone. But considering how Static's matches have been going and how the team has been performing, the team dynamic, I think that this is a perfect trade.
Really love this transaction. Almost, well, I hesitate to say it, but almost never is it a bad idea to go get more momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are times when it is. If you're dropping Megalop on you for an E tier that gets momentum, okay, okay. But almost never is it a bad idea to not go get more momentum. So I love that. Uxie is just about the safest lead you can get in meta. I mean, you can bury Uxie and you can throw up rocks or click U-turn, turn one versus almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
It is really bulky. It has some offensive sets. I think you can Calm Mind on it. You can do some things there, and I've seen it be useful offensively. But primarily, it's a bulky pivot, and it's extremely good at what it does. It does not have reliable recovery. That is its primary problem. That's why it is a C instead of a B. If it had cover, it would be a B tier mon, unquestionably in my mind. The thing is ridiculously bulky. But the U-turn and rocks potential, he needed rocks. He needed rocks, okay? This thing gives him rocks. I believe it was you yourself that had pointed out that if Static wanted to have rocks on the field, he had to bring an E-tier mon. Can't say it anymore. This thing is about as reliable as a rocker as you are going to find. So big pickup.
Yeah, I completely agree. And so next we have that little thing that was alluded to with my technical slip-up. There has been a team change. So Nemo has unfortunately had to drop the league for IRL reasons, as it usually happens. It will be kind of sad to see him go. I've really enjoyed having him in this league, and I'm sure he's going to stick around in the chat. Really great guy. But we are also picking up a new coach, Sarel, and her team, Dugong, with that Trapinch logo. I don't know what's going on with that team name or anything, but I flippin' love it. And Sorel is... I think that she's been one of the most fun people to have around in chat. You actually picked Sorel and I both up from TBC, from the same place. And Sorel and I, we faced each other week 1, and I've been making sure to watch all of her matches in that league, and she's a really good battler. I have a feeling that we have a playoffs game in our future in that league, and I'm looking forward to that if that happens, but I'm also looking forward to seeing what she can do in this league, because she's picking up Nemo's team, and if you guys don't remember, that's the one with Shell Smash Mega Blastoise, Volcarona, and Zeraora. And holy cow, if I was to pick up a team just out of the blue, usually when people drop leagues, it's going to be like they have bad differential, they're not liking the team because it was maybe not the best constructed or something, but no, Sorel is picking up one of the best teams that we have in this league, and I know that she's going to go places.
And particularly, she brought Nemo in. She helped me find Nemo. She helped Nemo draft that roster. She helped. I know he gave her a plan, but his plan went to the pits very quickly. She made a lot of choices as to what's on that roster at the moment. So there's going to be a familiarity there, I think, and you can't help but have some biases toward Mons. So there's probably some Mons on this roster already that she liked, and I feel like she's not going to face what happens a lot of times. I think when people come mid-season, they pick up a team. Everyone else has already gotten comfortable with their roster when you're not, and you're just having to pick it up. And sometimes that can be really difficult. Probably not going to be the case here because she pretty much is picking up a roster that she picked. And it also happens to be very good, by the way. So I'm happy to welcome her in. It's her fault anyway. She brought Nemo in and had to step out, so she's just picking up the baggage she left.
This was all planned. Get that Trojan horse in while she's too busy to go the first couple weeks, and then just jump out of that Trojan horse. Hello, I'm here. I have Shell Smash Mega Blastoise.
Completely. But that's not all she has.
Oh, yeah. For sure. And she actually has more than what the team started with. So there are 3 total transactions that she made when she came in. And this is the first one. Lucario for Egregious. So what do you think about this trade?
I gotta be honest with you, in this particular trade, I absolutely hate it. Not because I don't love Cofagrigus, but because I love Lucario. This has nothing to do with the functionality on our team or the roles that they serve. None of that stuff matters. What matters is that I am a huge Lucario fan, and it just got dropped for absolutely no reason. And so I hate this move entirely. As far as functionality on the team, I'll let you speak to that. But anytime you drop Lucario, you've made a bad call.
Yeah. I'll be completely honest. I kind of handed this over to you so that you could maybe talk good about this trade because... Okay, I can talk good about this trade. But I feel a lot the same way. I have a lot of bias. I was really looking forward to Lucario coming. I don't think it even showed up yet. Or if it did, it was like one of those it hit the field and then got swept away kind of things. But I was looking forward to it doing some work. But whatever. Functionality of this trade. Number one thing I'll point out, with this trade and a trade later on, Sorel's team has gotten a lot more weak to knockoff. Lucario has that Justified and the Resist to Dark type, so it was maybe not the bulkiest, so maybe not a perfect knockoff switch-in, but Cofagrigus hates knockoff. But Cofagrigus also can add a lot to the team because it has stuff like, it has Body Press now, which is really good. It has like Toxic Spikes, and it can just generally be a great bulky ghost. It has Pain Split with, I believe, a fairly low HP stat. At least low enough that Pain Split is going to be decent recovery a lot of times. And it also has a somewhat decent special attack stat, and Ghost, I always say it, one of the best offensive types in the game. So even coming from a bulky Pokemon like this, I think it's maybe even better on a bulky Pokemon because usually if you're running a bulky Pokemon, you want your 3 support moves and then you only have room for like 1 attack. Well, if they don't have a Premier Normal type, you can just click Shadow Ball and be completely fine because not much is resisting it and you wanted to switch out of Dark type anyway. So,
And I will say, just to be serious about the transaction, Coffee does bring, I think, something to the table that the team can benefit from a lot in Toxic Spikes. With things like Mega Blastoise, Zeraora, Volcarona, even the Crocodile, depending on its set, that small amount of chip that adds up over the game can become a very big deal when you're talking about things like a Blastoise or a Volcarona. When most of your calcs are to try to make sure that Volcarona can't 2-hit KO you, and then you take 1 to 2 turns of Toxic Spike damage, all of a sudden that 3-hit KO is now a 2-hit KO, and you're in much deeper water than you thought you would be when you were calcing things out in prep. So I do think it has a lot of functionality on the team. It also brings things like Memento, which is
mhm.
really helpful if you got, I don't know, let's say something that sets up really good, like a Shell Smash Blastoise, maybe. Um, so, I think it is a good move in terms of functionality. But I think Lucario is just a fan favorite. Most people, I think, generally have a high view of Lucario, and we only saw it come to one match, and it ended the match 0-0. So, bit of sadness from the fandom standpoint, but as far as functionality for the team, I get it. I do agree that it may add to the knockoff weakness, but I think the Toxic Spike trade off is probably worth it.
Yeah, and I will say I don't think that Sorrel's team is incredibly weak to knockoff. That was just a minor note that this and one of the future transactions really hate knockoff. So it's maybe not like this is the most knockoff weak team I've ever seen. Just bring knockoff and you win. Because there are still things like that Mega Blastoise that it doesn't care about knockoff and other stuff like that. But yeah, I will also say this is only coming from one prior league of experience with Sorrel. I feel like this may be a little bit more of a shift for comfort because I know that in TBC, Sorrel has a really bulky team with like Deoxys Defense and Mega Venusaur and stuff. So I tend to think from that, and I may be wrong, but I tend to think that Sorrel is really good with bulky offense. And if that's the case, then I can see this for a comfort pick too.
And that's completely fine, completely fair. Cofagrigus is fabulous. There's no problem in my mind with Cofagrigus. It's a great mon. Just hate to see the Lucario dropped.
Yeah.
Next transaction she had was dropping. I don't know what the bad Hoopa. I
Yeah.
don't know what this Hoopa is. Maybe
Just
its name is just
Hoopa.
Hoopa.
Yeah.
I prefer to call it the bad Hoopa. She dropped the bad Hoopa and she picked up Komala. I really like this particular transaction. Komala is one of those mons that if you don't know what it does, it could really cause you problems. It has the wish, the U-turn, rapid spin sets, and it does have the wood hammer, and it can do some fun things, but none of that matters. What matters is two particular things: choice band or choice scarf. Because what you're going to do is you're going to run sleep talk and you're going to run last resort, and then you just pick which attachment you're coming with. You bring in band or you bring in scarf. Komala can rock your world if you are not prepared for it. And it does have functionality for the team, but I love that last resort Kamala set. I've always been a fan of it, and I'm hoping. I know I just spoiled maybe that set for the entire whoever listens to this, so maybe bonus for you. But I hope to see it come because man, it is nasty.
Yeah, certainly a bonus for me because I was not around during what was it, Gen 7, I guess? And so I didn't really know. Like, I've looked at this thing's move pool on a couple different occasions and been like, wow, that's a really good move pool, and why does this thing have such good stats? It's just a tiny sleeping koala, whatever. But yeah, with what you've mentioned, and also with just why does this thing have such an obscene move pool? It doesn't look like it should have U-turn. And Wish, I mean, maybe. And then Rapid Spin, like this thing just is too good. And then Bulk Up, and then so many other things. this thing is just going to be deceptively good. I think it's going to fill a lot of that same role that the bad Hoopa was filling with just slow wall breaking, and it's probably going to do it even better.
One fear I have with this set, and I know Sarah watches these videos, I would just speak to her directly and just say, like, don't slot roll fill Kamala. And what I'm trying to say is don't make Kamala Florges. It's not Florges. Don't bring Bulky Wish every week. Mix this dude up if you want to see the kind of production that you're hoping for from it. I've used Kamala extensively in several different leagues, and I've had a lot of success with it. And I would just implore you to mix up your Kamala sets. If you bring Bulky every week, I almost assure you it will disappoint.
Yeah, that's probably some great advice. Maybe not even for Komala, but any Pokemon that has a lot of versatility. Make sure you aren't slotting it into something just like that Grimmsnarl. Just make sure you're bringing versatility if you have versatile Pokemon. That's one of their strengths. Use it.
The last transaction was. I don't know what I think about this one, to be honest with you. I'm really not sure. The Metang offers you Stealth Rocks, whereas the Boufflant didn't. We saw a really useful Boufflant this season. Now, granted, that was with Nemo. This is Sorrel, different people. But I'm really not sure how I feel about this one, to be honest with you. It does, as you were alluding to earlier, the knockoff problem is perpetuated by Metang. I agree, it's not the biggest knockoff weak team, but there are some Mons on this roster that really enjoy having an item. Floor just likes its item. Crook likes its item. Noivern really likes to keep boots nowadays, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure how I feel about this Mon. I'm really not.
I don't know. I have a feeling that this is going to be something that I think this is going to be a Sorrel Pokemon. I think that it's going to maybe not come super often, and maybe some weeks it'll just come with Stealth Rocks and that'll be its job. But I think that Sorrel will find the... I've used Metagross a lot, and I absolutely love Metagross. So if this is just a less powerful, bulkier Metagross with Eviolite, it can maybe even forgo Eviolite, run like a Rock Polish weakness policy, or... I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. And maybe it doesn't perform well. But Boufflant, that's another one of those, like, it can do stuff. It has, like, close combat. It has great breaking potential. But Sorrel already gained a great normal type breaker to replace Boufflant. So not really losing any roles in any of these transactions. And just, I think that it can do stuff. Again, I don't know what, but I have a feeling something's going to happen with it.
You know, there are some pre-evolutions that do operate at a lesser but similar capacity to their final evolution. Probably the biggest example of that is Weavile, right? Weavile runs, I think it's 120. Let me go check. I think it's 120 attack, and Sneasel, I believe, is right around the 100 range. They're very similar in terms of their final attack stat. These two are vastly different. Metagross's attack is over 120, and Metang's is, I just looked at it a while ago. Tang's is 75.
Oh.
You're talking about a 60 base attack difference there. So I don't know. I'm excited to see. I've seen Metang's before, but I've never seen a Metang that impressed me. I hope this is the one. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do with it. That's the fun of the ASL. We talk about it every week. It's a common theme of these videos. E-tier Mons doing stuff. Every week we highlight E-tier Mons doing stuff. This is another opportunity to see a fun E-tier Mon hopefully do something.
Yeah, I certainly look forward to it. So, that has been our Week 4 review, and as always, we don't always say it, but if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and maybe leave some constructive criticism, any ideas that you have for what we can do differently with the videos. We've been switching it up with Set of the Week. I imagine that's going to start coming back But it won't come back every week, and sometimes we do some really special stuff. So if you have ideas for that, like just a tiny thing that can't make its own video, but you want to see in the week review, then go ahead and leave suggestions for that. And other than that, you want to sign us off? Any other words?
Yeah, if you've made it this far into the video, I want you to comment at the bottom and say EV sucks. Okay? Comment at the bottom, EV sucks. Just show us the dedicated fans are. If you've made it this far in the video, look forward to seeing your comment. And we'll be back. Week 6 is already underway. There's some exciting things we're going to have to show you. And I'll see you next week.
Yep. See you next week.